So, why is everyone suddenly watching Korean dramas? If you are a long-time Korean drama watcher and emerged from 2020 very confused about the sudden love for dramas amongst your friends and family who had been ignoring your enthusiastic recommendations for years at this point, then welcome! In this video, we explore what happened in 2020 to change their minds. Okay, so we all know that the pandemic imprisoned us in our houses, separated us from our workspaces, forced us to binge watch dramas, order takeout, and basically survive our own company. That's not news. But what is worth investigating is why Korean dramas caught the attention of this content crazy horde. As I see it, there are 5 main reasons for this phenomena. Yes, but that is the obvious answer. Let's dig deeper and unearth reason number 1. By the end of 2019, everybody knew that streaming was here to stay. Production companies were gearing up for a steady rise in web series consumption over the next few years, so there were already a lot of shows in the pipeline in the production or post-production stage, and there was a lot of anticipation about what they were going to release in 2020, and nobody really thought they'd be running out of content soon. But then, the pandemic happened and people were stuck at home. And for a few months in the first half of 2020, they kind of did run out of content. With beloved TV shows suddenly halting production and movie releases pushed to December and beyond, people needed new things to watch. We were bored and racing through all shows available on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Hotstar, and all local streaming platforms. And then suddenly, Netflix started recommending that we watch this series or this series or this or this or this. And now imagine, at this point you've run out of all familiar content in your favorite genres and are just in the right headspace to try something new. And that pulls us into reason 2. We already know that Netflix uses the information they have on our taste to change up the thumbnails that they use when they're recommending a new show to us so that it appeals to our unique palate. And listen, look at these thumbnails. Korean dramas are gorgeous. Even their lowest budget productions have this beautiful, thematically perfect aesthetic. If you have run out of viewing materials and all you have left are the recommendation Netflix throws your way, you're far more likely to go for something that appeals to your eyes. And listen, we all have never-ending watch lists with those amazing foreign web series that we totally intended to watch but never had time to. But in 2020, people actually had time to go back to those watch lists and take out dramas that might have caught their attention at some point, but they just didn't feel invested enough to watch it at that point. Which brings us to point number 3. In the months when lockdowns and social isolation was shutting down film and TV production across the globe, South Korea had managed to contain the spread of the virus, enforce strict testing throughout the country, and it kept its productions filming. Now, back in 2019, Netflix had already signed a 3-year deal with 2 major Korean studios. And now they did the only sensible thing, which they were already planning to do, and bought as many titles as they could for their platform and greenlit every production with merit as fast as they could. Thanks to this smart move, for a few months there, while other streaming platforms were stagnating, Netflix kept releasing a slew of older Korean dramas and some new productions and aggressively pushing them at anyone who showed the slightest interest in any of these titles. Which brings us to a very crucial question in point number 4. Once you clicked on one of these titles and have had that first experience of the strange and enticing world of K-dramas, what makes you click on the next one? You probably know the answer, but I will tell you anyway. South Korea has been consistently producing these 12 to 16 episode stories, always with a clever hook to maximize audience interest, packaged in these aesthetic, tightly written hour-long episodes that are perfect for streaming platforms. What the world is learning to do today, Korean dramas have been doing for decades. This is genre media creation at its peak. And finally, the last point. Now that these new viewers have discovered Korean dramas, what's making them an active fan? That requires effort beyond just passively streaming shows on your favorite platform. My theory is that some media creates more comfortable fandoms than others, and K-dramas have a very warm and welcoming fandom that's easy for newcomers to get into. You don't really need cultural knowledge of Korea, you don't even need and Friends of Dramaland. Even if you watch just the one Korean drama, you can still get into a deep conversation about it with another fan. These stories are intentionally structured to be universally accessible because Korean dramas have been banking on the viewership of other East Asian countries who don't understand their language and often don't completely understand their culture for years. K-dramas don't assume any prior knowledge of a genre from its audience. But if you are a long-time watcher, it rewards you with ample Easter eggs and meta references. And lately, with the number of international sites, forums, podcasts, social media content devoted to Korean drama industry, it's really amazingly easy to become a fan and quickly gain knowledge about it. There aren't any gatekeepers. You don't have to memorize wikis. And all of those points now bring us to this one quote from the 19th century French chemist Louis Pasteur. Fortune favors the prepared mind. When luck created an opportunity in the streaming markets, K-dramas were prepared.